enough noise.
Did you log into that?
No, I guess I'm.
You did?
Oh, they actually make some noise.
Oh.
So I guess he heard it.
Did I hit the...
Make sure the microphone is turned on.
It is. He's still not hearing it? Oh, I'm getting a picture again. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me on the mic? I'm talking about on the microphone, not on the phone. You want me to go up to the front? You didn't say it, did you? Oh, wow. I forgot it was a delay. Well, I don't know what I can do about that. Maybe if they use the pit. Uh-huh. And when I was in this thing earlier, it was all the way up. It was turned all the way up inside this, the functioning of this thing too. But you can hear it, but you just can't hear it very well. It's not real loud. Um, well, that might be a Thomas issue. You know, he knows how to go in there and do things to it. Before today, the microphone wasn't even working. He would go in there and cut it off and change to the microphone on the camera until today, because apparently I had plugged it wrong. I was plugging the microphone into the camera and not to the Teradyne. But right now, okay. And look at the settings. I swear that when I looked at it today, it was turned all the way up. I started to turn it down because I don't remember before me having it turned up all the way like it. But it seemed like it was turned up all the way, but I just left it like that. What? Oh yeah, yeah. It does. This is not Jeopardy. Jeopardy, you be done lost the question if it took this long. If you done chimed out, said, you took too long. Now you don't get very long. Now Jeopardy, you had to write your answer down. They look at it. You already wrote it. You had already written it down. Well, I can talk about. I can talk about that. Under settings. Well, when you're under settings, you should see audio and network. I mean broadcast. You can go into audio and change the audio. So I don't know why it went away. You want to stop it? Okay, if you want to stop it, go ahead. But I think if you stop it, I don't think I can do this again. Hold on, stop. Let me see the settings. Stop streaming. Yeah, you can stop it. Well, not as long as it goes. Gotta go green. Gray had a little lamb. I don't know what to say. I got it right up next to it, and you should hear me talking into it right now, do you? Hello? I forgot about it's got a delay, so it could be taking a few minutes for the delay to get to you and back to me. Okay, well, I'm standing right on top of it right now, but let me walk up here to the front of the room and see if I can know its direction. I'll go up here and stand by the podium. Okay, I'm up here at the podium now, and it's pointing right at me. How's it? Is it clear now? I know. wants me to take his card down for him. Are you still there? Back, I'm gonna put your speakerphone on.
Trying to nip it in the bud now. Very good.
Benny's working on it. Is it on, Benny? Yes, on. She talks about say something in your teacher's voice or what they see. They can hear you. Copy pad.
Tab.
Yeah.
All right.
We just script or something. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm going to talk to you about. Is I've got a PowerPoint to go with what I was going to say too. I know Dr. Taney probably does also. I'm guessing maybe.
PowerPoints aren't problem.
Well, I've
You got to get it on a pen drive. And, yeah, it's okay to get it on a pen drive. You get it on the cloud. I can't guarantee you. It's not an issue.
staff council version.
No wonder we're not getting anything. I'm gonna try to pull up this now.
For setup purposes.
Well, he has the one he did it, but he did away with that link.
That is loud.
When we tried to do it, I couldn't get it in there. He said, oh, I gotta do something else. So then he sent it to Randy. But I think he's not gonna send it to me.
Yeah, that's a very sensitive mic.
Oh, that's, you sound good.
2016. Frank Eden.
Test.
Yeah.
I like this mic.
Amanda called me yesterday.
You can't do that.
Test.
Did you hear me, Tan?
Test. 1, 2.
said something about that. One of the PowerPoint that you wanted me to, zoom in on the PowerPoint, not on the presentation.
Well, I just, in the past, it's just us standing here talking things. We just kind of held that show while I'm talking. So, yeah, yeah. Don't know what's up for I just got June like with each.
Maybe. We were, I feel like we were not,
actually getting attendance today. Yeah, it is. Hi, how are you all? Good. Squeeze. You hadn't been to this campus since 1996? Oh, I didn't even know this campus was. Oh, I don't know. I mean, they changed it. Andy, when he was at little kid, yeah, I don't know.
Look, the point is, I think you work at straight Midwest. What do you say?
Well, hey there.
Do any of you gentlemen have a air conditioner? Anything like that? Okay, kids, you're in for a real treat today. These gentlemen have kindly volunteered to demonstrate how a stun gun is used to subdue.
Oh, God.
Little deputy guy there. I know I've seen that. Yeah. Wow. I don't know the thing about U of L. Oh, yeah, that's they must have to be preemptive things so they don't get the full force of it. Yeah. Oh, is that right? Oh, I've heard that too, yeah. That's why I thought he was going to announce it. Oh, I know. I was kind of amazed about what. Yeah, I'm amazed.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll. This administration. I know. He said after this, he'd be not going to show up.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll take it.
Oh, no, that's great. You're right. You're right.
Hey, Jerome. Hey, how's it going? All right, how are you? Yes, yes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Try a third time. Good afternoon, everybody. There we go. You gotta get tough like I am in my classes. All right. Well, good afternoon. Thanks everyone for coming out to the first staff council meeting of 2016. I can tell you hands down, this is the most people we have ever had in person. I don't know if it counts. My colleagues can tell you we blew the attendance mark by tenfold. So, my name's Dan O'Brien. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the co-chairs along with Danielle Doyle. And so, God bless you. Today we're going to do our first meeting. I'm going to start off with Dr. Ty Handy, our new president. And then afterwards, I will go through some of the reports from the other departments. So, to respect Dr. Handy's time and everyone else's, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Handy.
Great.
So, when I was was interviewed, I made the comment several times to several groups when they would ask, what's my vision for the college? That if I just came in here and imposed a vision, the odds are it would be my vision and nobody else's. Am I loud enough? Everybody hears me? Okay, good deal. And so I was reluctant to do any of that sharing. And I said it takes time to build that. Well, the board gave me exactly 30 days. Not really. They gave me 20-some days. And all of a sudden, we had a board retreat last Friday, and the lead thing on the agenda, at least they named it something soft, thoughts at the end of month 1. But in effect, I was told, we want to know your vision for the college. So I prepared this reluctantly, and I call it a newbie's narrow initial vision. Because I know at the end of the day, we've got to come together on where we're going as a college. I can't just grab and pull, and I know that's the case. But I also understand the board's sense of urgency, and probably your sense of urgency because of some of the challenges we've been facing and what we're facing. So I understand that I don't have the luxury of 6 or 9 months to listen and learn and things of that sort. I got to hit the ground running as much as I can. So I prepared this. It's somewhat generic. There's probably things in here that will appeal to something in here for everybody to like and to not like. Okay? It's trying to be no holds barred in terms of laying out what I see and where I think we're going. Now, before I get into this, though, it's probably important before I talk about where I think we should be heading to sort of clarify where we are. And I've been here a month, so I don't know it all. But you know we've had some challenges, and it seems like every time we turn around, we get hit with another one. Sort of the perfect storm seems to be brewing. So we've had about 4 years of enrollment declines. At our peak, we were 15,300 students. Today's number that came hot off the press over the email lines was 10,200. I'm rounding a little bit, but if you do that math, we're down by a third, roughly. Okay? Not quite that bad because I'm comparing a fall number to a spring number, but we're in that neighborhood. So that's been a heavy, heavy hammer on the college's operations. Classes don't have as much students. It's harder for them to make. We've got adjunct faculty who haven't been able to get teaching opportunities. It's affected our budgets. You probably know all of that. But in addition to that, in the last 8 years, there's been 7 state funding cuts. And the governor has decided we're still fat, and he proposed the largest of all state funding cuts to hit this year and next year. And so that's adding to it. One way to think of an enrollment decrease at this college is that we get about $30 million a year from our students. So a 1% drop in enrollment costs us about $300,000. So if we're down 10%, that's $3 million. And so then, you can sort of figure the numbers that way. On the state funding side, he's identified a 4.5% cut to our state funding this year, starting now, for the rest of the year. So really, you can almost double that in your mind on an annual basis. But 4.5% on the state funding side is $600,000. It's about $150,000 a percent on the state side, roughly. We get about 2/3 of our money from tuition and the students, and we get about 1/3 from the state. And both sides have been squeezing us really hard. So that's where we are. And maybe a little more concretely, because of efforts to balance the budget in recent years, which needed to be made, we've spent through our reserves. So we're down on a reserve situation. The state has, the system has what's called board-required reserves. They don't want you to dip below a certain point, a certain safety point in terms of the reserves that you have. Well, we are $1.3 million below that. So we have spent through our reserves, and in effect, we owe the system. Okay, so we don't have a lot of flexibility to invest a lot of money to turn things around or what have you. Probably for this year, because of the 11% enrollment hit in the fall, and another 10% carried through, we're still clearing the air, but it's about 10% this spring. Some things we thought would happen early on in the year didn't happen. We needed to close about a $5 million budget gap, and we really weren't able to do that. my forecast, I'm thinking, and in the budget area, as we look at things, we've got somewhere between a $3 and $4 million problem this year alone. So we're probably going to end the year below our reserve point by somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $4 million would be my guess. Because we're going to make some, we can make some adjustments between now and then to help us out some. But that's a problem, and we can't keep letting things slide. So there's some things we got to do as a college fairly quickly. The system is covering that. They seem rather patient. They're not, they haven't tarred and feathered me or anything yet. But there's a limit to how far they can do that. And so we've got to turn it around, not tomorrow. It didn't, one thing I'll say, it didn't get the way it is in 6 months. We're not going to fix it in 6 months. That's an unreasonable expectation. And I've been saying that loud and clear up at the central office. That's just not, that's just not how it goes. It's going to take some time. But if we look out 2 to 3 years from now, we should have this thing turned right, okay? And by that time, we may be underwater $8 or $10 million and have to pay that back. But we're going to have to, we just can't keep doing what we've been doing. So we're going to have to make adjustments. So that's the painful part of coming in as a new president and having to deliver that message. But by the same token, we know that we're high in demand. And I haven't seen, and what a lot of people are telling me, they see more community interest in what we're doing, that's okay, and what we're doing and what we perhaps ought to be doing, and everybody thinks they know what we ought to be doing, of course, than we've had in a long time. So right now we've got a group of employers. If you name the biggest employers in the region, their head honchos are up at the state capitol lobbying for this college, right? In fact, it's making the system very nervous, okay? So I get daily emails telling me to reel them in, and I'm thinking, why? Okay? I mean, if Humana head wants to go up there and say this college needs something, I'm sort of happy to have Humana's head to go up there and do that, okay? Now, they tend to see things in terms of facilities and major investments. They don't tend to see things in terms of operations. And operations are where we are challenged right now. So there's a bit of an incongruence there. But when in the second day of work I get to meet with the mayor, and a week on the job I get to meet with the governor, and they want to talk about this college and what we're doing and where we're going, to me that's good news. Okay? So I'm going to subject you to the same thing I subjected the board to here for a few minutes. It's a few pages, but I want to give you that vision that I gave the board. And again, I'm a month in, and because I'm having to scramble, just like many of you are scrambling in your jobs right now because of where we're at, I'm going to make mistakes. No doubt about it. I'll apologize in advance. When I make a mistake, it's probably going to be something of commission. I'm going to do something that when I understand the full situation later, I wish I'd have done something a little different. Okay, I won't make a lot of mistakes of omission. I'm going to make them of commission. Because we got to be active and move. We've got to work on the things that we've got here. So this is my vision. Oops, that didn't work. There we go. By 2021, it's hard to read, isn't it? I'm sorry. By 2021, 5 years from now, this college will become a student-focused, all-caps community college that represents what our community needs for an educated population. The college is going to be structured for growth and expansion in disciplines and initiatives that meet the current and future needs of our community. One of the challenges we face as we've ratcheted down with enrollment is we've trimmed around the edges. That's natural, but they're not strategic sort of things. So if enrollment were to turn tomorrow and we start going up, we're really not well positioned to capitalize on what that can do for us, because of how we've had to go about saving the money. Does that make sense? So we've got to be more strategic. And what I'm saying here is we're going to have to recenter ourselves towards that goal. Now, I view what we do here at this college as a three-legged stool. You may have heard that metaphor before, but I like it because I think there's three things a college like this has to do. 1, technical education. 2, transfer education. And 3, workforce and life skills education. And I did not list those in priority order. Okay? In fact, I'll be honest, I had them in a different order, and somebody a pay grade above me said, I don't like that order. Okay? So I changed it because it didn't matter to me. Okay? I view them all as equally important in terms of what we do as a college. So, technical education first. One thing I've heard loud and clear since I've been here is that local employers are screaming for a qualified workforce. And they know that if we aren't the primary provider of that student pipeline to meet these critical careers, this need's going to go unmet. And they know that. So they can only stand up so many software guilds or what other sort of end runs they want to do that we're not able to meet that demand. There's only so much of that they can do. And what the city of Louisville's learning is the software guild is costing $12,000 a student. You know, when I made the comment to the mayor, if we had $12,000 a student to do what you're doing over there, we'd be doing it too for college credit. Right? And of course, basically there was an acknowledgement that that's probably the truth. Okay? So, nobody else is positioned like we are to meet this need, and we've got to respond. We have to offer technical education that, number one, meets employer needs.
Did you turn your microphone on?
I'm not starting over.
All right. Can you turn it on now?
Yeah, it's on now. I think
Okay,
it's on.
thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Thank you.
We've got to offer technical education that meets employers' needs. And so, you know, we got some programs that I would call legacy programs, and they're struggling, some of them, because the curriculum may not be as aligned with what employers are needing. And we're in an industry that flexibility is the key to our success. So we're going to have to change how we approach that sort of thing. We've got to anticipate future needs of industry. We've got to have our finger on the economic development piece and what's going on in economic development and know who they're trying to recruit and figure out how we can respond appropriately. Because the second question, the number one question companies ask when coming in here is, what kind of tax incentives can you give me? And the number two question is, am I going to be able to find the workforce I need? Right? And the state's done a great job on the tax incentives piece. There. Yes.
I think you got it on standby. One more day.
So like the people watching online, they can hear you.
How's that work?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you. Okay, and number three, we've got to partner with employers willing to invest in meeting those needs. Now, that's a key point that I made to the board. It's not a partnership if all the other person's doing is screaming that they need something, and we're losing money to provide it. That is not a partnership. Okay, and I said it very clearly as I could to the board, okay? Because that means we got to walk away from those partners who aren't willing to invest, okay? And it's not just an investment in the infrastructure, the building or the equipment, it's an investment in the operations. If we've got to spend $1.50 to educate a student who's paying $1 to come through a program, that 50 cents has to come from the employers. And offering a scholarship to the students or a job is fine and well, but it doesn't cover that 50-cent differential. And so we're going to have to run ourselves as a business in that regard. And that's just something that, you know, I'm going to have to say to the employers. What I'll say is you really don't have a need if you're not willing to invest in it. Okay? If all you're willing to do is whine about it, it's not a problem. And then number four, it's got to reach deeply into the local K through 12 system to build a pipeline of interested, qualified students to feed these hungry employers. There's this notion that if we, historically in community colleges, if we build it, they will come. But what we're learning is that that's not necessarily true anymore. Okay? Well, you know, just because we put something in place doesn't mean it's going to be successful. So we have to do a deep analysis of the enrollment, the job placement, the financial viability, the employer community relevance of our existing inventory of programs, and quite seriously, we have to eliminate some programs and all of their associated costs that do not meet expectations in these areas. They're drawing us down. We're losing money in those programs. We have to do it quickly, as the resources freed up are likely going to be the primary source of funding for the things we need to do to grow. And without those, we won't have those resources. So we have to partner with area employees, we have to partner with area employers, and they must invest in building the pipeline. going to come to Jefferson to major in something, advanced manufacturing, because we got a new building or something of that sort, and because we send people into the high schools to say, come look at this program, that will help, but the employers have to be in there showing them what a great career it is, showing them what the starting salary will be, showing them what kind of job security they'll have, and they've got to be doing that. The college cannot afford to subsidize technical education to our demise. These are our most expensive programs. It's natural. Startup costs are high, faculty costs are high, consumables are high. We can't afford to subsidize those things. Employers have to step up and help. And I'm sort of telling you what I told the board and a couple of key people on the board. Businesses who scream for support but will not invest in us must be allowed to keep screaming. Okay? We can't afford to go under because we respond to that scream. There's a great technical college up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Gateway Technical College. Pretty charismatic president. You probably should have hired him instead of me or what have you, but I had him down at my school in Florida, and when he finished talking about tech ed up there and everything they were doing, our employers, a lot of defense contractors, big companies, Boeing and others, they were saying, man, that's great. How do we do it here? He says, meet your college halfway. And somebody says, what do you mean by that? If you're not putting up half the money for that program, we wouldn't touch it in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That's what he said. And all of a sudden, they weren't quite so interested in some of the things that they thought they were interested in before. But they've got to do that. So the result of this investment, we owe these partners something. We can't expect a partner to invest in us like that if we're not designing the curriculum to meet their needs, right? And their needs are ever changing. So we can't sit on the same stuff that we've had in the past and expect partners to keep investing. So we owe them flexible responsiveness, right? And it's sort of which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, they're not going to invest in us until we prove that we're willing to make the changes we need to make to meet their employers' needs. So on the tech ed side, we've got to be employer-driven. Okay, my vision here is that 50% of our programmatic enrollment should be technical-oriented students, with the initial goal of career placement when they graduate. Half our student body should be on the tech ed side. And here's the kicker, and that we increase the percentage of technical graduates by 3 to 5% every year for the foreseeable future. And I want to talk about why that's so important. We have a 15% graduation rate here at the college. 85% of the students who come to us don't graduate. Okay, now we know some transfer before they get there. Some build some skills and get hired away by employers before they get there. Other colleges face that. Other community colleges face that too. Same sort of melt, or whatever you want to call it, that's going to happen. The national average is 23%. Okay? We've got to close that gap in 3 years. Maybe less than that. 2 years. We've got to close that gap. Because every student we lose is another extra one we have to, actually not one, but two we have to recruit. The fall-to-fall retention rate for our students is only 44%. I've been saying 48, and the data's been corrected for me. Say it loud.
41.4%.
So I've been here a month and it's fallen 3 times. Okay? We can't let that keep happening. Okay? 41% of our students who start as first semester freshmen, a year later, only 41 out of 100 are back. Okay? We cannot survive with that. If you're a faculty member, the most fun classes to teach are the sophomore level courses. We need more sophomores. We got to have them, okay? We can't have average class sizes of 6, 7, 10, 12 at the sophomore level and expect to make ends meet. So we've got to find a way to make students more successful. I'm going to be pounding that point. So we've got to grow our graduation rate by 3 to 5% per year for the foreseeable future. 3 years from now, we need to be at the national average. If we're not, we're going to be looking at even more problems financially. And people are worried that problems mean jobs. I hope they don't. But if they get worse, then that's a natural and logical consequence. We just can't let that happen. It's good for the student to graduate. It's good for the employers who in advanced manufacturing have 1,000 job openings right now, and we have 11 students in the FAME program right now. Okay, they got over 1,000 jobs in IT, and we're going to graduate 100 and some or something this year. So we're not ramped up where we need to be in these areas. Our nursing enrollment has gone from 5 years ago at 2,400 students to 1,400 students today. Now think about that. Population's aging, hospitals need nurses. Where are they getting them? Galen. Somebody said Galen. Students are paying 3 times as much to go to a different school. They're coming out maxed out on their debt, right? They're getting the same job our graduate gets. Somehow or another, we have ceded, we have given away being the gatekeeper to nursing and allied health education in this community. We got to get that back. We're going to have to develop strategies, develop flexibility to earn that back. So that's technical education. Transfer education. This is an important one for the board to hear, and I had 2 board members come up to me afterwards and said they had never thought about it that way. So my audience here was the board, recognize that. So if you're a Gen Ed faculty member, don't be offended when I reduce it to some dollars and cents information, because that's how the business people on the board tend to think about it. But the increasing gap between what 4-year universities charge and what students and families can afford to pay has opened and is opening an ever wider door of great need and opportunity. We are the low-cost provider of a quality educational experience. Used to that was enough. It's not enough anymore. Okay? But that opportunity is to transfer a focused education, that opportunity is to offer a transfer-focused education that prepares students to move easily from here to U of L, IUS, Western Kentucky, Campbellsville, you name the baccalaureate experience. We want them to move there easily. And when they do that, they'll save they'll come out of a undergraduate degree at least 1/3 less debt. And in many active admissions, you got to be a pretty good student. I hit that button. You got to be a pretty good student to get into U of L to start out, right? Their junior year students, our students who transfer there, their GPA is equal to, actually a little higher than their GPA. We're meeting that mark. We're meeting that mark. We need more to do it. Okay? We need to be the pipeline. UPS right now has 400 scholarships available for students to come here for free. Debt-free education. There's 700 already here. There's 1,200 at U of L. UPS knows they get more bang for their buck by having a student come here than any other way they can do it. They want more students at Jefferson. We need to own that program. It's not a UPS program. It needs to be a Jefferson program, because we need those 400 students, and we need them next semester. Okay? I've been told several times people don't like the phrase low-hanging fruit. That baby's hanging to the ground. Okay? We can kick it off the tree. We've got to respond to those sorts of things. I mean, who wouldn't want, there are people, but who shouldn't want a debt-free opportunity to be ready? And when they transfer to U of L, they'll continue with UPS and get that paid for too. Finish your undergraduate degree free of debt. Certainly we can find 400 people in Louisville who want to do that. Okay, we've got to. So, we must streamline, though, our core academic offerings and not try to be all things to all people. I'm just starting to read through some data right now on the number of different courses we're offering in different departments on the transfer side of the house, and how much that spreads ourselves thin when we look at the class sizes that we have in some of those courses. We've tried to be all things to all people. Most transfer students have a pretty common core of courses that they need to take when they transfer. We really need to focus on doing those right. Okay, and I think we've spread ourselves a little thin. This focus must be on those classes that are most transferable and most valuable as the core part of the general education experience. I think what we've seen here is something I've seen in another school that I was at, what I would call elective creep. Okay, we just keep adding and adding and adding, and before long we wake up and realize we've spread ourselves too thin. So we got to relook at that. Okay, and it's diminished the strength of that core. It's lowered our average class sizes, which is a critical metric in cost control. If we're going to dig ourselves out of this problem, the key thing we're going to have to do is look at our class sizes. That's going to be the key metric to do this. Okay? It confuses students when you have all these different courses and they end up taking the wrong thing. And then they're mad because their courses didn't transfer the way they should have and stuff like that. And it confuses the transfer institutions because they don't know how to line some of these courses up because they're not the typical basic courses they're used to seeing. So these two areas, well, first of all, my vision on this. My vision is that 50% of our college should be transfer-oriented. Okay? Right now, we're about 45% technical, 55% transfer. I'm within 1% of that. Shauna back here is nodding an affirmation or going, I don't know what the heck I'm saying, okay? We're close to that mark, but we've got to increase by 3 to 5%, just like on the tech ed side, 3 to 5% the number of graduates who transfer. We've got to do it next year. We can't do it in 3 years. We've got to do it next year in order to solve our budget problems. These two areas make up the lion's share of our programmatic enrollment. So my vision is that our current retention rate, fall to fall, of about 41%, okay, grows by close to 5% a year until it exceeds the national average. National average is 58%. I don't want to be president and work at a college that is not performing up to the national average. I want to be in that top tier. Okay? We're going to need to fix this and fix it quickly. And it grows by that until it exceeds the national average, and then vicariously, if we can get that right, if we can get retention right, then we'll hit the graduation rate marks. I don't have to worry about that so much, going from 15 to 23%. My personal feeling is on this is we lose too many students. You would say in the first semester, and I would say we lose them in the first 3 weeks. Students come in, they've come out of high school, they've either been bright enough that they've coasted and didn't have to work that hard and things were sort of handed to them, or they just don't quite understand and not sure they should be at college, so they're not working hard and they take a wait-and-see attitude when they first get here. And we don't allow any of that. Okay? Within 3 weeks, they're so far behind, when they hit that first major assignment, it's over. Boom, they're gone. Okay? And that's what's happening. And really our goal, in my opinion, ought to be 2 years out when they graduate. Most of them 3 years out when they graduate. We love having students for 3 years, by the way. Okay? Well, 2-year school with students for 3 years is a good thing. Okay? 3 years out when they graduate, we want them, that's when we have to have that stamp on them that says you're ready to go on to U of L or IUS or you're ready to go to work. Right? Let's give them a chance to grow and evolve. Let's give them a chance to mature, and give them a chance to understand. If you've taken college courses, and many of you have, you'll probably agree with me when I say 50% of the battle is learning how to read the professor, learning how to understand the course, learning how to play the game of going to college. It's as much an endurance test as it is an intellect test. We're not giving anybody a chance it's a sprint to the 3-week finish line, and they're done. We got to stop that, okay? So, that's important to me. We have to be the best in this area before we can be best in state. And we got to be the best in the state before we can be best in the nation. And I know the KCTCS mission is to be, or vision is to be world class. Well, we can't get there until we get best in state, right? So we got to start moving there now. The final piece for me is, and I never changed it to that one, but I'm going on, workforce and life skills education. And I think a lot of people think of this as a tag-on to what we do, and I want to say it's not. Okay? It's not enough to just graduate students that are ready to work. We have to be the go-to college for the ongoing business, industry, and governmental, what I call BIG, B-I-G, business, industry, and governmental training needs. Okay? We want them to, they're the ones with the deeper pockets. They're the ones who, Mary Ann came to me about a week ago frustrated because she was trying to charge tuition to Ford for these students. And the reality was the costs were higher and Ford was willing to pay the extra money. Just write a check if we could package it in a way to let Ford pay the extra money. And she says, I'm in a box because I'm only allowed to charge tuition. Right? I said, no, you're not. Charge what the market will bear. Okay? In the contract, we'll specify that if they meet these skills, they'll get this college credit. We'll go ahead and post it for them. Don't let tuition bound you in that area. We've got the potential to do well in the corporate. They're about to hire 2,000, 3,000 more employees, $1.3 billion. Somebody's got to train them. Why not us? Right? And why not do it at a competitive rate that makes us smile? So, so we have to position ourselves as the most efficient. We can do it cheaper than all these other organizations. We can, and we ought to. But that doesn't mean we do it cost plus. We do it for a competitive price that the others can't quite touch, that gives us money to be able to do new things with. We will do this by flexible design of coursework to meet specific employer needs. We got to be focused on that specific employer. We've got to integrate what we're doing in that training so that we can articulate it to programs, so we can help some of these students who are doing well in these classes, who've never gone to college, understand they've already got a foot in the door by taking that course, and it's going to be easy enough to make the transition. And we've got to do it in a way that's timely, quick, that provides students with college credit timeliness and a pricing model that is competitive. And we got to cover all our variable costs. And I think too often we haven't been doing that. We've been subsidizing activities like that, and we just can't keep doing it. I also view this area, one of the reasons I think it's so important, is it's the incubator. It's the entrepreneurial side of our organization to try new things. I'd much rather have a course fail in this area than a program fail in another area. So it's where you try things out. It's where you make sure they have the legs to be successful. So I view it as part and parcel with what we're doing on the academic side of the house. And if we think we want if we need what's the person who works for an attorney, a legal, do we have a program in that? No, okay, good. Maybe that's not good, I don't know. If we think we need a paralegal program, instead of spending the money to stand one up from scratch, let's seed it in this area. And let's make sure it's going to be successful and it's got some legs. Then we can make the investment and transfer it over. And so that's one of the reasons it's so important to me. Too many colleges run this area as a loss leader. They know they have to do it. They think they're going to lose some money. It's just part of the name of the game. Your reputation among employers is largely driven by this area. Okay, not entirely, but largely driven by this area. So we run it as a loss leader. We cannot keep doing that. We have to position ourselves to respond to the true needs. And the true needs are the training needs that the employers are willing to pay for. If they really need it, they'll pay for it. Okay? Basically, everything else we do at the college, many of you are staff here, staff council meeting. I think some faculty may have drifted in because the faculty council meeting was canceled due to snow, so I didn't get to say this to them yet. But as staff, even my job as president, okay, we are in support roles. All I am. Okay, I'm in a support role. In order to provide that support, we need all hands on deck. You are critical to the turnaround of this college and what we need to do financially to put ourselves back on solid footing. And so I'm going to actually not be talking about the three legs of the stool that much. I simply want to lay them out that that's what we do. But how we're going to succeed is these three things right here. This is what I'm going to really preach on, and you're going to hear it so much you're not going to, this meeting will never be as big again. You hear I'm coming because you know what I'm going to be talking about. And the first one is student success. Okay, if we don't keep the students here that we're already getting, I don't want to bring in, I met with a faculty group today, and of course, and this is natural and it's logical. When I meet with faculty, they talk about the staff issues with getting students enrolled and getting them here, and why aren't we recruiting like this? And when I talk to staff, they talk about why aren't they graduating and why aren't they staying in class and why are they dropping out so much? Okay, it's natural. We're all going to do that sort of thing, right? I talk about my wife like that all the time. Okay, and I'm sure she's doing the same thing for me, and she's more right than I am, probably. But I'm still going to talk about it. The reality is we only control what we control within our own areas, and we got to focus on that. Student success is absolutely number one, followed by what I call, these are in numbered order. They weren't bulleted like the other nights of the school. Community responsiveness and long-term sustainability. Student success is the overarching litmus test by which we must screen everything we decide to do at this college. We have to find ways to streamline the admissions process. We have to eliminate those financial barriers. That's why one of the reasons I really jumped on this UPS thing, knowing that the money's just sitting there. All we got to do is find the students to want to do it. Okay? We've got to orient and advise students so that they have the best chance to succeed in their first semester. There's a group called EAB, Educational Advisory Board, that does research at colleges and universities around the country. It's a pretty expensive product, costs about $35,000 a year to get. We won't be getting it, okay? But my last school, we made the investment a couple years ago, and I negotiated when I was leaving. I wanted one thing, continued email access. Okay, that's what I negotiated by leaving, because I wanted those EAB books, because they're valuable stuff. Hot off the press just this week is one that, based on research, they're going to turn the place upside down. The number one predictor of student graduation is not race, it's not gender, it's not high school GPA, it's not ACT score, it's your GPA in your first semester at college. All right, it's your GPA in your first semester at college. Last fall, our GPA for this college was a 2.49. Now think about that for a minute. 2.0 is academic probation. Okay, 2.49. I think nationally, they're probably the average for community college is about a 2.75 or so. I know in Florida, maybe a 2.8. In Florida, 28 schools, 2.72. Okay, we're well below the national average. We've got classes that have an incomplete, what I'll call a DFW, unsuccessful completion, and of course, that many of them exceed 50%. So if we put at-risk students in those classes, what are we doing? Okay, what are we doing? You know, I've been using this one. I'm going to have to modify it a bit because I haven't drilled down deep enough. It's one of those mistakes I'm going to make. I've been using as the poster child example, Math 150 online. And what I've been saying is right, but I've been saying at the 10,000 foot level. We put a student in that class across the college, they have a 9% chance of getting an A, B, or C in that course. 9 out of 10 are not succeeding. Okay? Now that is a technically correct statement. The reality is it varies tremendously among those courses, those 150 online. So we've got some with a 40% success rate. Now think about that. If the average is 9%, and we've got some with a 40% rate, what are the others? That almost alarms me even more. Okay? We got 30 students in a class and 29 of them aren't successfully finishing or something. I haven't seen that by a course-by-course listing. I look forward to seeing that. Okay? So from an advising standpoint, from a staff standpoint, you got to break these barriers down to get them into the classes. And then, do we have any advisors in the room? Quite a few in here. I'm going to throw advising for a loop. Okay? We cannot put at-risk students or first semester freshman students in classes where they got a better than 50-50 chance of not making it through. That is not going to help us get. I'd rather have, this sounds terrible, but I'd rather have if we have a class that has that kind of rate, I expect to see 0 students in it. And it doesn't matter to me if another section has to go over the limit to get that. Okay? I'd rather be at a point where we're paying somebody not to teach than to pay them to teach like that in terms of success rates. We've got to address that. Now, I'm going to say the same thing to the faculty on the flip side, because faculty have to work on that piece, but it starts with advising, and it starts with putting students in the right load. I'm willing to sacrifice some fall enrollment to reduce the course load for some of these students. Okay? They're coming in. You can get your financial aid over the full year. You don't have to get it all in fall and spring. Right? And so we take students who we know are here largely perhaps for that financial aid opportunity, but we ought to convince them that they need to get financial aid for 2 years, not 1. And if they take 15 hours or whatever, they're going to get it for 1 year. And then they're never going to get to access it again. Right? Let's give them a 9-hour load, help them out a little bit, reduce their financial aid in the fall, promise them we're going to get them in the summer, so they get the rest of that financial aid, give them a better chance to succeed. So we got to think about our advising a little bit more in terms of that piece. And I'm basically saying to advisors, you know what classes you like to put students in and which ones you want to. There's an informal network. You know, don't put anybody in Ty Handy's stats class. And you know that, and it's quiet and it's underground, but everybody knows it, right? Well, there's a reason why you know that and why you think that way. Okay? Your job, your role, is not to get everybody in class, it's to get everybody in the right classes. I want to see them back in the spring because a lot more of them will have grown and matured over that time period. And now they can take Ty Handy's stat class and they might be a little more likely to be successful. So we're going to have to stand that on in a little bit. I'm drifting. Okay. The focus, I've got a lot of advisors here. I wanted to say that. The focus extends beyond themselves to the curriculum we offer. I've already done that piece. I've done it in a different way. Okay. Also, we've got to keep students' eyes on the prize. We really have to figure out ways that we're going to make sure that they're focused on graduation or successful transition to work. We've got to bring that into everything we do. I won't take credit for this, but he's absolutely right. The new commissioner of education has a granddaughter who's trying to decide what career to go into. So he thought, I'm going to take her out to Jefferson's website, and I'm going to show her on the programs. And he says, and I go to the academic programs. And he says, first of all, he says, you look like Yale out there when you start looking at the academic programs. And he says, when you click on them, he says, I wanted to show her what fields were available in those areas and what they paid and how many jobs were available in this job market. Right? So I wanted to see that a person with an RN has an average starting salary of $43,000 a year, and there were 480 openings last year in this region. He said, first of all, it's not at the bottom of your website. It's not there. It can't be found, in his opinion. Right? So that's what they should see first. When you buy a refrigerator, do you buy the refrigerator based on going to the back of the manual and seeing what parts are included in the ice maker? That's what we do. We list the courses that you got to take. Right? You got to have 2 maths. Oh, wait, math? I don't want that major. Let me go to another one. Right? How many people, some of us, picked our major based on the courses that were required, right? That's the old model. We need them to be thinking about the new model, okay? Which is, here's what you do. So from day one, when they first go to our website, we want them focused on the prize. The prize is this job. It's this transfer opportunity. It's this graduate school opportunity. We got to have, and then everything we do, when they go into class and they sit down in that developmental math class, we got to be connecting it to the jobs or to the life they're going to lead when they graduate. And so it's a change in how we approach things. So we have to do that. So student success is going to be my mantra. I'm going to talk about it a lot. I do not have all the answers. You're the experts. I'm going to be pushing stuff, but you all are going to have to decide some of the things we change. Starting next year, if a faculty member is teaching 100 students, and that's a pretty light load, so maybe I should use more, but it's easier to do the math. If they're teaching 100 students, we need 10 more from that faculty member's classes to make it from fall to spring. Now, that's not that dramatic, is it? Think about that. That's manageable. That's a 10% swing. Okay? That's doable. So what I'm saying isn't pie in the sky. And what I'm saying isn't ridiculous. Okay, community responsiveness. A focus on student success can't be the only thing that we're focused on. We need to be viewed by our community, and I'm saying this because I don't want to say just our employers, because that's not accurate. Okay? They think they're the only game in town, right? And from a political standpoint, to some extent they are. But the reality is we got students, we got families, we got community groups that advocate for students, right? We got employers, we got our governmental leaders who can decide whether or not they're going to help us out. Okay, we need them to to feel that we're a responsive institution. All those things are very important. Community responsiveness inevitably links itself to student success because it's that responsiveness that has to drive our ever-changing curriculum and the things we do differently, our course and our program development, and our approach to creating the student pipeline. We're going to have to be responsive to the community. Telly here today? Telly's not here? No good? Okay. Telly told me that he's had a couple principals reach out to him from the Jefferson County Public School System who are principals at academic schools. I get what that means is they're designated as a school where a lot of the students are going on to college, right? And the principals have said, don't let the central office know that I'm talking to you. Okay? Now, here's the good thing is, the principals are smart enough to know that just because they're an academic institution, not all those kids are going to get admitted to U of L or wherever academic place they want to go to. Okay? That we're probably, even at those institutions, we're the likely place for a third of their college-going students. And they want to build the relationship stronger with us. Right? My opinion, when we have admissions and recruiters, I want to put, I know we like to hit every school probably. Our idea of admissions and recruiting is probably to spread it out. I want to hit that school, instead of being there for a day, I want to be at that school for a week because that principal's bending the ears of those counselors. Okay, that's a prime place to go start getting new students. We want to be responsive to that principal, okay, because they're trying to change the culture. And when they're successful, it's going to be what may happen at Western High School with this Rotary Promise Scholarship. If you're not familiar with that, the Rotary Club has come in, basically said if you meet these markers as a student at Western, you're going to get a free ride to Jefferson. Okay? And they're actually feeling like it's a challenge because students are starting to transfer in wanting that free ride. That's what we want to see happening. Okay? So, focus our attentions in those things. That's responsiveness. We will not, and we will not ever, have the resources to be responsive on our own dime. Okay? The Rotary Challenge is what's opened that door up. They promised $1 million endowment, okay, to help us be able to promise students that they're not going to have to borrow money if they come to us after graduating from Western. And now Iroquois is the second one in that pipeline, Iroquois High School. And so we will never have the money to do it on our own dime. Higher education in Kentucky just isn't structured to give us this luxury. The key is going to be partnerships again with people investing in it. My vision is that this college has to focus its efforts on responses that make financial sense, that have the will, that have or will gain foundation support, grant support, and or employer investment, the UPS program sort of thing. In what we're doing. Hiring our graduates, it's wonderful, but it doesn't pay our bills, right? That's not enough, so we're going to have to focus on it. Our partnerships must result in mutually beneficial experiences where they were not really partnerships to begin with. That's what I'm saying. Last piece is long-term sustainability. If we keep chasing rabbits down holes, that aren't financially productive for the school, our long-term sustainability is at risk. That doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help us, doesn't help the students, doesn't help the employers. We just cannot do that. And so, quite frankly, that's some of the reality I see today. I wrote a paper a while back, 7, 8 years ago, that was in the New England Journal of Education. And the editor of the paper changed the title. I gave it this real academic name. I don't remember what it was. He titled Differentiate or Die. That was the title. And I was embarrassed at first. And then after I thought about it, I thought, really, that is what I'm saying. There are so many private colleges up in New England, and they're all competing for the exact same students. Right? And they're all competing, you could name 100 of them up there. They're all about 800 to 1,000 students big because they're all competing over, and they've commoditized their educational product. You can't tell the difference from one school to another, okay, between them up there. And we were eating each other alive while students were starting to leave to go all over the country from New England at other institutions that had done a better job of differentiating themselves. We've got to do the same thing. We're the workforce provider, and KCTCS has adopted this sort of thing. We've got to be proud of that, and we've got to be willing to align ourselves. Being the low-cost provider is not enough anymore. It used to work. It doesn't work anymore, okay? Our students want convenience. Not sure we're a very convenient place. I think we've lost a lot of our health students, probably because of the way we've packaged what we're doing in that nursing program, perhaps. They want convenience. They want care. Okay? They want to feel like we care about them. They want an understanding of where their efforts are going to lead. They want to know when they take that first course that they're shooting for this job that pays X, and that there's enough openings in the community they're likely to get it if they graduate in that field. And they want to be a part of a college where they have pride. And we got some challenges in our facilities and things like that, looking like a college. Downtown don't seem to have that challenge, in my opinion, when I look at the other satellite campuses, or whatever we want to call them, other campuses. Downtown, I think we have some challenges there, but they deserve to be at a college where they have pride. So, in conclusion, I think, I've already done that, okay? We have to engage in a pretty dramatic culture shift. My vision for the college is a pretty dramatic culture shift for us. Anything less, and I think we run the risk of insolvency. And Dr. Box asked me to take that word out of the presentation, and I didn't do it for the board. Because I think at 10,000 students, we're okay. At 8,000 or 6,000 students, we don't want to see what that looks like. Okay? Not coming from a 15,000 student peak, because that's ugly. We can't go there. Okay? We're not going to go there. That's just the bottom line. We're going to turn this. Okay? My vision is to reposition ourselves as a leaner, meaner college with a resolute focus on student success and community responsiveness. We're going to have to make some creative, data-driven decisions. The IR office is probably getting frustrated with me a little bit. Not yet. Okay, it's coming. Okay. I'm asking for a lot of information to try to make sure I don't make seat-of-the-pants decisions. Okay, so I can really see what seems to be dragging on us and what seems to be thriving for us. So we have to make those decisions that increase our student persistence. We've got to have them stay in school, persist. They've got to. That meet those critical community needs, that differentiate us from all the other institutions, not just on the basis of cost. Okay? That eliminates the underproductive initiatives that are, quite frankly, drawing the resources away from us on things. We have to do them. And whose results provide the needed resources to invest in continually increasing our value. The first 4 words of the mission statement for this college, what are they? I want you to know the first 4 words and the last 8 words or so. You don't have to know the rest. First 4 words, first 4 words.
We open the door.
What?
We open the door.
We are an open door. Okay? Right now, if I was writing our mission statement, I would write, we are a revolving door. That's what I would write. Come in and you go out. Okay? Happens to 85% of our student body. Okay? We want to be the gateway to higher education in this community. We should be. In most cities like this, the community college is. So we got to recapture that. The back end, because I...
achieve their dreams.
What's that?
Help students achieve their dreams.
You know, I like how you said that. The actual mission statement says, provide opportunities for students to achieve their dreams and aspirations. I may have a word in there wrong or something.
Dreams into reality, I think.
Okay, provides the opportunity for students to turn dreams into reality. Provides opportunity doesn't excite me very much. Okay? We need to do it. Okay? We are an open door institution that improves students' lives and that turns their dreams into realities. Okay? The rest of the stuff is fluff that just sort of makes sure we're not a movie theater or something like that. Okay? Those are the key pieces on either end. Focus on that. We want the students, we've got to be the gateway to higher education on the one end, and if they're not staying in school, they'll never hit their dreams and aspirations. That's what I got to focus on. So, that's basically what I said, not quite exactly how I said it, but with the same sort of tension points to the board, to our board, because they need to understand that truth too. We're not just a workforce-focused college. What I said to the board was, nobody should finish an undergrad, and if we graduate anybody that doesn't have that, we're missing the boat for them. And nobody should graduate from college with a set of work skills that isn't also graduate experience at a college without a skill that they can take into the job market and use to make a living. Also complemented with what they need to be a good citizen and to enjoy life and to understand what it means to be a part of society. Those two things go hand in hand. We can't separate them, and we do ourselves injustice when we go tech ed, gen ed. Okay, that's a logical way of splitting us, but it creates these silos that cause problems. We got to recognize the value of both. Ta-da! So I've gone for an hour. I'm sorry it went that long. I can't help it. I just wanted to ensure you never have a record attendance again. But there's probably a couple questions. Questions, things you want to ask me? Been here a month, so I know it all. Anybody? What I can really emphasize then is, and I'm struggling to do this on the things we can control. Okay? We can't let ourselves be burdened by all those things we don't control. And I listen to the legislators, and I listen to the system, and they say you can do this and you can't do that. And I go home frustrated, and I sit up half the night until I tell myself, what the hell am I doing? I don't control this every day and every night. We're spending so much precious energy on it. You got to focus on what you can control. That's what's in your area. Influence it positively. Okay? And as you control that, when you're good at that, that area will expand. It's influence. We all know people that are in this room who seem to have a lot more influence at this college than I have, or than we have, or what have you. Why is that? And we tend to say, oh, because they play favorites or something. There may be some truth to some of that. I don't know. But the reality is, when you control your own area to the best that you can, you have more influence elsewhere. Work on that piece, okay? Because that's what's going to save us as a college. And when I say save us, we're not disappearing. So don't get me wrong on that. But that's what's going to turn us around and make us really, really happy. Okay, that we've repositioned ourselves so that when we do start growing, this market has enough people in it. We should be serving 20 to 25,000 students. Okay, now you got Ivy Tech across the river serving 4,400. Don't you believe any crap about them being better than we are. I was there for 5 years. Laura was there for 3 or 4 years. Are they better than us?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. When I left, they were 4,200 students. Today, they're 4,400 students. Everywhere I go, people are telling me how much Ivy Tech has grown. Okay? Well, you know, you're talking to somebody who left in 2005. Okay? And 11 years later, they're the same. Okay? I say that 2003, our spring enrollment was about the same as our spring enrollment today. Okay? Now, the grid that I saw, Shauna, had blanks for 05, 06, 07, so I didn't have those numbers. So I don't know if we dipped and came back or what have you, but we're back in that same sort of area too. It's common everywhere. Everybody's challenged in community colleges these days. We're not unique at all. It just feels like we're unique. Focus on what you can control. That's what's critical. Okay, I'm sorry. Get me going again. Questions? Come on.
I got something.
Yes, sir.
Almost part of it. In an email this week, you were quoted to say something about trolley bar. And nobody I knew what you meant.
So I don't think I said, I don't remember ever writing the phrase trolley barn, but I'll do my best to explain it. So we're involved in a program at the historic trolley barn here in let me do it, then you tell me how long I am. Okay, I'm learning all this stuff. Okay, and that program is intended to help train people who are going to work on the preservation of older buildings and things like that. So it's a good opportunity for training to help some students move to a point where they can work on my home in Old Louisville or wherever that's available for them to work on. It's a struggling program. It's probably one of those rabbits we've chased down a hole. Some people would say that, some wouldn't, so I don't want to say that definitively. But I think Tony Newberry, previous president here, is teaching a class with 5 in it. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry, 3 in it? Okay, I was wrong by 40%. Okay? With 3 in it, that's probably not a productive use of our resources or his. Right? Okay? Now, I want to say, Tony's, I assume he's being paid the adjunct rate for this, or he's doing it for free. I don't know. He's not a full-time employee here. I don't want the rumors to get out wrong or anything like that. But I just happened to, I knew Tony, so I talked to him, and he told me he was teaching this class. Right? So it's probably one of the rabbits we've chased a little bit. Sometimes we chase them because we need to. I'm not saying it was a mistake, I don't know. But Kentuckiana Works wanted that program in place. They pushed it, we responded. Okay? It's a good idea. You know, we did one called RAMP. Anybody familiar with RAMP?
Yep.
Okay, some people are familiar with that. My understanding is we trained 15 people in that. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it from a programmatic standpoint. It's not going to get us there. Now, if you talk to the powers that be in the city, oh, we trained 60. Or whatever number it took for them to justify saying it was a success. Okay? That's not what happened. We trained about, I'm told, about 15 people. And it was designed to help people understand better the moving industry and how you load and unload and that sort of thing. And I'm not quite sold that that is a college credit experience. Or what have you. So, okay. So you know, and so should we be doing that sort of thing? If it makes financial sense, it helps put people to work, okay? Then I have to do it. Maybe it is, but it's probably not something that's... What's that? We didn't do credit. See, so I'm learning a little bit. Somebody told me we didn't do it. I'm not saying we... But it's got to make financial sense for us to do that. We're going to have to say no for the right reasons to some of these things. And that's partly where I'm going to come in. Okay? And I'll have to say no for the right reasons to some of these things. So that's the trolley barn. Other questions? I know I've taken more time than you want. It is a Friday afternoon. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I just wondered about revising curriculum and looking at programs, which ones are going to update. Will like each department have a committee that reviews, or will that come from the board?
So I think I need to get a personal handle on that better before I decide the process. And I don't have a personal handle on that. I have a way that I want to see it. And I'll be straightforward and honest with you. I've never found the size of a program to be a good predictor of whether or not a program is viable. Okay? Class size has been the best predictor for me. Because you've got programs that cross over and they're intertwined with each other. So at my last schools, we had a middle school education program with 9 students, and the state kept screaming that we needed to cancel the program. All it had was 9 students. But when I looked at the courses, they had 28, 29, 30 students. Because enough people doing secondary ed and elementary ed were taking those classes that the courses themselves were well populated. And I had to defend that program to the state because it would have harmed us to get rid of it, not helped us. And so I really am a focused person on class size. And that's, you know, so maybe I'll learn to be different, but it's worked for me quite a bit. And so if you're, you know, and so we're probably in a school with an average class size of 20. We're probably in an environment today where if we're going to make the budget work and that sort of thing, we need an average class size of 25. You know, and I may be under, okay? Every day I get to look at the data, I think it needs to be a little higher, okay? And that's hurting us some. And we got some space issues in terms of finding that sort of space. Probably have the space, we haven't equipped it in a way that it'll hold enough students to do it right, okay? And we don't have the money to buy new equipment. So it's all part of the wrestling we're going to have to do to figure out. But you know, I can't imagine a more painful process than to say to a group of people, go sit in a circle and tell me which one of you and your programs you're going to cut. That doesn't sound to me like a process I'm excited about being a part of. Okay, so I want to get a handle on where we are first, and you know, and probably I think it'll be almost self-evident. I haven't seen the numbers, but I suspect it'll be self-evident where we are, and we just have to do that. Yes.
Well, I'm Pete Roberts, I teach upstairs.
Okay.
I would really like the college to take a careful look at the online classes overall. Every time I talk to students, if they've taken an online class, they did not like it. Many of them quit those and went back to regular classrooms.
I don't disagree with you, and I think there's this societal view that online is the fix for everything. And we've been forced to embrace that some, you know, because the state feels that way, they force the system to feel that way, who forces the colleges to feel that way. I think our data shows that online classes are students are least likely to be successful in online classes.
The last report showed that they were pretty much as successful as in
So we may be turning the corner. We may be turning the corner some on that to where they're not quite as bad. But I have a bias. I'll share my bias is the hybrid course format. And I think I've been told the data here shows that hybrid's very successful here. Okay, at my last school it was head and shoulders above all the other models. So you meet on Monday, face to face, but on Wednesday that meeting is basically uses the technology. You can use your facilities better with a model like that, and students are engaged with the technology more, and they still have that personal touch. I'm in your camp that the personal touch is the best way that we're most likely to keep a student is through the personal touch. Can we walk away from online? I don't think we can. It's part of that deal where somebody else is going to come in and eat our lunch if we do, right? We'll be giving up our role as the gatekeeper to higher education if we walk away from that. But we need those students to be as successful. The Math 150 online experience is not what I would hold up as the model. Freshmen and sophomores, they're not ready for online education like you and I are for graduate school or something like that. We have more self-motivation individually to learn something. They're not there yet. But if they're going to go to be a junior, senior somewhere, in today's environment, they're probably going to take online courses. Part of their growth and development, we need to give them some of that experience. So it's a part of what we should do. We're not going to transition to where that is what we do. That's all we do. And I would agree with you. Okay. Other questions? Yes?
I mentioned I met with the mayor, and I know this isn't the end be all, end all, and I know how budgets work, but the mayor had his State of the City address, and he mentioned that the city has a $16 million surplus. Have we had a chance to hit him up for some help, since we are, to say, hey, we're sitting here in your city needing some help here.
It doesn't hurt to have his siblings on our board. Okay? So I know his ear has been bent already, and it's one of the reasons I'm sort of boldly saying in the right circles that I'm very concerned about a student's first impression on our downtown campus. Okay? I think it is, and the way I phrased it to my boss and to a legislator that was there at the time is I suspect that Detroit's community college looks better than ours downtown. That's how blunt I was about it. And if you think about our downtown campus, it's hard to tell it's a campus. It doesn't feel that way, right? First time student walks in, there's a decent, I'm talking about not the people, but the physical, there's a decent physical experience of walking through the door at JEC because that area's been picked up a little bit. And then they hit the stairwell with the lime green and the graffiti painted, and they get upstairs and it's, it's got a bordello feel. I've not used that phrase before, but I thought it's Friday afternoon, I'm going to say it, okay? And I'm not encouraging anybody who works here to dress differently. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have a college feel about it. You agree with that, right? Yes. Then they come down to leave, and you're excited, maybe, after going through that, because you got a schedule, and I'm going to go see where I get my books, right? And you weave between cars through the center of campus, because there is no center to campus. And you go to the basement of a building to a Barnes & Noble, right? And you see that it's really not the Barnes & Noble that you had in your mind, right? And then we have to overcome that first impression, right? And I don't think I'm overselling that. So my conversation with the people who might help us, and there's a committee now running on it, is we've got to have the center section of the seminary building renovated, and it needs to be the front gate to the college. Yes. I'm saying it and getting there are two different things. But to me, even if you're not Christian, and I know it was Presbyterian, but it's an inspiring facility. Okay? I've had people tell me, well, you're going to have to remove the stained glass windows. You can't be a public institution. No. It has enough history to it that we can overcome that piece. That won't define us. What will define us is a student can walk through that door and go, This wasn't like my high school, right? And I want that. So there's Carter Lewis, who's our chair of our foundation board, is organizing a group with Sharon. They're going to start looking at Sharon, and Sharon says, we already got the money. No, she doesn't. And they're going to really start focusing on where we go to get the money, not from the state, but from preservation funds and things of that sort. And I know we had ideas about how to use it as community space. I want it as the front door. I'll be demanding on this. I want it as the front door experience for students coming to the college. Okay? And if it means that I have to move out of my building, which isn't a bad building at all when you're inside it, into the 4th floor of the JEC building to provide the space so that students' first experience is a better experience. And I'm gonna put Laura on the spot because I made a comment about that to Laura and she said we won't fit there. Were you thinking of the whole building? Okay, because when I walked, after you say that, and I walked the whole building, and I thought, center of the seminary and this facility, that would not be a bad first impression for students. Not as bad, right? What the city can do for us, get us some extra parking sort of opportunities so we can convert that center lot into something that makes it feel like a college, okay? Also meet us halfway on providing students access through bus transportation. Okay? The data we've got shows that that's a successful model. And so, you know, I made a comment to Dr. Box about the system ban on parking fees and how we did it. And he said to me, oh, we don't really have a ban. Okay? Present your case. Okay? But what I'd like to do is to have some resources to help give us some other options for parking. Right now, we have no money to do anything except stay with our exact same lots, right? So I'd like to see, if you haven't ever done this, take an afternoon, stroll over to Spalding, walk through their campus. They have a few old buildings like ours. Don't go into the building, just walk into the campus, okay? See what they've done with some green space. Okay, see what they've done with some green space, with a few little parks here and there, little bitty things that, you know, cost them 50 grand, 100 grand here. What's 100 grand among friends? You know, and it has a feel about it, even though their infrastructure is not unlike ours. It really isn't unlike ours. Okay, you know, so there's things we can do to make that feel better, and I think it can't be done by next fall. It's not going to be done. We got to fix the budget situation first. But as we free up, if we turn the corner and start retaining students and free up some money, that's where I want to put some of it. Is it reinvesting in what it's going to take to get the students to have pride in the place that they're at, right? Okay. My sister's phrase, she took classes here 25 years ago. My sister's phrase was, not you all, but the place was depressing. Okay? And so that's what she said to my mom when I told my mom I'd taken the job. My sister who lives in Chicago, and I've been on some of their campuses, and they have challenges in Chicago too, or what have you. But that was her, she felt like, she said, I don't know how it's changed. I mean, we've got some things, the health building and some other things, but it still doesn't feel like a college. That's got to be something that we free the resources up to start doing. Okay? And so I look at Spalding as a good example of how that can be done, because they're not unlike us, right? Didn't they have a crisis 15 years ago or something? Rudy, was that the name of the president at the time?
Yes.
15 years ago. And if you look at where they are now, boy, they are fundamentally sound, thriving, kicking on all cylinders, buying buildings, the Whistle or Castle building, across from Musselman, that plant.
Sissel.
Sissel, Whistle, whatever. I think they're getting ready to. Okay? But they're at a point now where they can think about land acquisition for future growth. Right? We can't think about that. No, not yet. That's where we need to be. 5 years from now, we need to be thinking about it, right? And preparing ourselves for that. So, other questions? Yes?
What's your idea on what's going to happen with programs like SOAR, FYE, those sorts of things?
So we have with me saying as honestly as I can that student success is the number one thing that we can do, okay? It's the number one thing. And I've been a president for 16 years, and I have not said that for my entire 16 years. I've been saying it for about 3. Okay? It was not in my, I did not acknowledge that student success was important for 12 of my 15 years as a president. It is critical, that area. So what we're doing with Achieving the Dream, okay, and the growth out of that, which are the first year experience, the SOAR, some of the other things that we're doing, that's got to be the platform for improving student success. We got to scale it to the whole college, okay? It's got to impact all our students. But to me, that's the most important stuff we do. So we got to make good decisions on that, okay? We don't have a lot of extra money to pump into it, but we got to use it as the tool that it was intended to be. It's got to help our. It's very easy to reduce what I'm saying to get us any warm body to come here, and give them a degree, and we're going to be okay. It's very easy for the skeptics to listen to what I'm saying and say that's all he's saying. And the reality is it's interventions like SOAR, like the first year experience, like what the faculty can do to help a few more students get through and succeed. That's what's going to make the big difference in the long run. Because I'm still holding true to this notion that when they graduate, I want them to go to U of L, and I don't want that faculty member at U of L to go, huh, I bet that person went to Jefferson. Right? And right now they can't do that because our students do better than their students do. Okay? We don't want to give that away. We don't want to give an inch of that ground up. Okay? But it's going to be the programs like that that are going to make the difference. And we started, as I understand the data, I've not seen it directly, but we started with a pretty good trajectory. It's plateaued a little bit. You know, we got to figure out what we're going to do to get it going again. Okay? Why? Because it's so easy when you first step into these things to focus on what student services does. Okay? As the end-all be-all to fixing retention. Because it is so painful for an organization to think about addressing the faculty's role. Okay? Well, the second trajectory that we have to hit on this is the faculty's role in that. I cannot, 3 years ago, I would have turned my head and hoped I didn't have to address it. That time's gone. We've got to address that now. The faculty are going to be the key. We've got to do everything we can do in a support function, but they're going to be the key to changing this and getting us that extra retention and graduation. But I'm Achieving the Dream is the platform by which we focus on student success. It really is. Other questions? Hour and a half, my goodness. It's Friday. Forget the reports. Huh? Okay. Well, thank you all so much for having me. It's going to be exciting times. You know, it's going to be exciting times. And then as Diane says, when you clap for a president when they first come in, it's faith. When you clap for a president while they're speaking, it's hope. And when you clap at the very end of whatever they said, it's charity.
And all of you know where that comes from, right? Ron or...
So anyway, thanks for the chair.
All right. Well, brevity is the soul of wit, so I will try to do the reports, but we'll run through it. It won't take up a lot of time, but I do think there's some good information about what some of the folks are doing. Laura, do you want to say a couple words? We had Achieving the Dream and Student Affairs.
Yeah, I just had a couple of things. I thought while we had a big audience and everybody actually was here today, but I can't do it like that.
Come on up here. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Laura Nash.
That's okay. I have a live streaming my report, so that's okay.
That's what I do.
Awesome.
That's what I do.
I'm impressed. Okay, so I'll be quick, but it is great to have all the staff together because a lot of times we have meetings within student affairs and we're not really great about getting information out to the rest of the college. So just a couple things I thought you might want to know. One of the things that we're doing now that we weren't doing a few years ago is what we call reverse transfer. So students who move on from Jefferson who did not complete an associate degree can circle back to us and earn an associate degree or certificate with a combination of the credits they have from University of Louisville and now Spalding University as well. So over the last 2 years, we've awarded 591 credentials, and I think that's pretty good. So just want to show that's something we're doing. I don't know what kind of order you have these slides in. So.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's the whole. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just. Oh, that's okay. So, you'll see, I do see Andrew Massey's name there, so I'll say, I don't know if he's here or if this is still on video, but he's an AmeriCorps Vista that we had the pleasure of having housed in our records office, and he's primarily managing that program. He does a great job. One thing I wanted to say is, regardless of what department you work at the college, you are probably familiar with the term no-show. Does that ring a bell for you? Okay, so there's a reporting process that faculty have to confirm attendance in order for students to receive their financial aid. Well, so this year something really exciting happened. Usually when we hear the term no-show, it's in some form of complaint. The student wasn't reporting correctly or a faculty member was frustrated with the reporting process or what have you. Well, so this year on Monday, don't check the dates, but I think it was Monday the 26th when the financial aid office had to run this report to find out where we stood in terms of no-shows. There were 1,504 students who did not have their attendance confirmed yet. 3 days later, that was down to 96. Wow. Thank you. And so kudos to our faculty and our staff for partnering and working so well together to get those resolved and handled for students, so it really eliminates any hardship on students who had an issue and couldn't get their aid. So that is tremendous. That is the best work that's ever been done in this area. So thanks to everybody who had a role in that. It really is great news. Another thing I wanted to mention, Dr. Handy talked about the importance of retention. We have a committee at our college, it's called the Enrollment Blitz Committee, and we've had, I think it's kind of started downtown, but now other campuses are partnering up and wanting to share in the excitement. So we have a couple of events coming up that help us promote early registration so that students come back. And so the first one is actually there's going to be a whiteboard campaign where there's some messaging done in classrooms about register early because registration opens March 1st. Right, so we want students thinking about it from the get-go so they can get the classes that they need. So if you're interested in participating, you can reach out to Amanda Tyndall or Angie Hennis. Or me, and just let us know, say, hey, I'm interested, or I want my campus to do this, and we'll help share common messages, but it does help to get information in front of students. So that's going to be happening February 29th to promote March 1 registration, and there'll be a couple of others, and the students want and need, when they want them and need them, how they want them and need them. So that's a student-first built schedule. Our product has to be all about the students. And then the third thing is we really want to look at increasing the academic success of students. So their GPA, as Dr. Handy was mentioning, their progression through their courses toward completion. So if any of those excite you, let me know because we're going to be developing teams to start working on strategies for campus culture, the schedule, and for academic improvement. Okay? And the other thing I'll tell you while I'm up here is about achieving the dream. It's a different report on the agenda, but I'll speak to that. So, as most of you know, and thank you for mentioning Geneva FY 105 and SOAR. We all went when he said those were good things, so we want to be proud and happy about that. But as most of you know, our Achieving the Dream initiatives, the first 3 years, were really centered around first-time freshmen with our freshman seminar course, our orientation program. We looked at our developmental math offerings and trying to do our boot camps, professional development about under-resourced students, and our front door experience. So signage and wayfinding and calendars and all of that. That was a lot. And we took that on for the first 3 years. And now most of those things are integrated and institutionalized and in a continuous improvement process. So Achieving the Dream is one of those things that we said was not a program, it's a new way of living and making sure that we have a student success mindset. So now we're ready to go into what we're calling 2.0. And our focus is on African American student success, academic advising, and still math, because math is still a major priority for us with our student success. So yesterday we had a core team meeting, and what I'm here to report to you today is we have kind of narrowed down our plans for interventions with African American student success. And so if you remember in 2011, our original data showed us that of all of our student populations, our African American males had the lowest success rates across the board. And so we know that this is an area that's of high importance for us. So there are going to be 3 teams developed now going forward, and there'll be an all-call that comes out to the college so you can get involved. There is going to be a team that focuses on academic instruction. And so the recommendation that came forward from our faculty research group is on something that is called intrusive intersectional instruction. I got it right. And so that focuses largely on a lot of professional development about teaching methods and cultural competence in the classroom. And so we're kind of excited about that. So there will be an implementation team that gets together to talk about how they're going to roll this forward to include all faculty at the college in being knowledgeable about how to incorporate some of these strategies in their classes. The second one is more about outside of class support, and specifically with a minority male initiative, and we're using the Student African American Brotherhood as our platform for that. And so along with the development of, it's called SOB, with our SOB chapter, we will be hopefully creating some sort of a space for students and a leadership academy to go along with that. And then the third one is more about community engagement and resources. So we know for a lot of our students, it's life issues that get in the way of our academic success. And so the recommendation that came forward was to provide some kind of a one-stop. It may be a physical one-stop, it may be a web, it may be a combination. I don't know what it will look like. What we're talking about is pulling together resources. So when students need information about housing, medical assistance, whatever they might need, tax preparation, that they have one place to kind of go to and find all of the available resources that they might need. So we're going to have these 3 teams that work on implementation for our college. We always want to look at what we can do for all of our campuses. It's not a downtown-centric plan. So anyway, just want to mention that. So watch for the all-call and sign up and get on board to help figure out how we're going to implement these at the lowest cost possible. Okay, that was as fast as I could do that. Any questions for me about student affairs or Achieving the Dream or strategic enrollment management? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, well, these will just be kind of quick hits here. We've got some of the reports. First one is from Academic Affairs from Southwest. We had a Kentucky Collegiate Quick Recall Tournament in January. The 18, not to be confused, the old TV show, finished 3rd in Division II behind UK and U of L. Their overall record was 29-12, and the B team defeated Cumberland University during this tournament. So congrats to Peter Rodsky and both of the quick recall teams. Let's see, Bullitt County said that they had 6% increase in enrollment. That's always a good thing.
Can I add something?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to share with everyone that two quick things. That we're starting a PTK chapter at Bullitt, and Professor Leanne Dickerson is going to be the faculty advisor for that. And I think it's an awesome opportunity for our students to be engaged. And the other thing I wanted to share with you all may have heard of our 12x12 and our advanced middle college programs. Well, the group that left in May, we've had 2 students do foreign travel and have study abroad. One student is studying in India, and another one is leaving for Buenos Aires. And so it came from our staff encouraging them to do study abroad when they transfer. So we just got the latest report back on the Buenos Aires one last night. So we were just really thrilled because they were sponsored and they got scholarships for it. So everything we do matters for the rest of those students' lives, because they were primed at Jefferson, and now they're going forward in their transfer schools. Thank you for
They
letting me
may not come
have
back
that.
from Buenos Aires.
Can I add something?
Well, sure. On down.
I just wanted to mention something about Title IX. Title IX is a federally funded law, and that law dictates that we cannot discriminate based on the basis of sex. And so all colleges in KCTCS have a Title IX coordinator that manages that any complaints that will come up. And so for the purpose of Jefferson, that person is me. So but I just want to remind people, when Title IX was initiated, pretty much involved sports and women. And so it's not just about women, and it's not just about sports. It's about making sure that we provide students and employees with a place where there's no discrimination, sexual harassment, and all that kind of stuff. And once we find out about it, it's our responsibility to act immediately and investigate it and go through all that to make sure that we have a safe campus for everyone. So if you talk to students, or if there are any complaints or anything, and you have some issues, I would like you to forward those people to me, give them my name and number, and we'll do what we can to make sure that they're taken care of and that everybody is safe. Thank you.
On the technical campus, right down here, JCTC is partnered with Kentucky Fame, as Dr. Handy had mentioned. That's the Federation for Advanced Manufacturing and Education. 11 students are in this first class that are working at manufacturing companies while going to school here at Jefferson to obtain an industrial maintenance degree. They earn $12 an hour and work 40 hours a week, which includes class time. So, and they were recently focused their piece on Fox 41. That's good coverage. Let's see, diversity reports. All 16 KCTCS schools will take part in the Super Sunday event coming up on the 28th. This one also targets African American individuals and their families about getting information about going to college. We will partner with First Gethsemane Baptist Church and New Mount Zion Church in Shelbyville. And you go to super-sunday.org for more information. Achieving the Dream, discussed that. Crisis management. All JCTC employees are asked to complete the following training sessions. Active shooter, introduction to the incident command system for higher education, a national incident management system, NIMS, an introduction. A lot of words there. But you can send your certifications or additional questions to Stephen Smith, and when you do a hyperlink on blue, that's what you get. It is Stephen.Smith at KCTCS.org. Campus safety. New cameras are going to be coming up in the Health Science Hall parking lot, which is good. That's usually where I park teach at night, so that's always a good thing. Automatic door locks are being installed also in the Health Science Hall, the library, and the seminary building. Bullet is adding a part-time safety position in the afternoon. And the third shift at Southwest is being reduced to a 4-hour shift. So, holiday party. Special thanks to everyone that either came to the party, helped, participated. From a monetary standpoint, we were able to give $312 to the Special Olympics of Kentucky, $205 to the Special Olympics of Carrollton, over $150 to the Down Syndrome Association of Louisville, and then $277 was shipped to Veterans Package to Afghanistan through Andy Martin and the Veterans Affairs Program, so that was really good. We appreciate all the donations. Round ball report. As a U of L fan, now that I'm terribly depressed because they're not going to postseason, at least you can hold on to our hoops team. Last night they beat ECTC for the second time this year. It's series. They're now 19-4. Actually, it's 19-5. They do have a home game tomorrow at 3 p.m. and that's at Canaan Church on Heights Lane. You can contact any of the individuals there, Raymond Try, Renee Wagner, or Joyce.
I'm going to say something on that.
Yes.
Because back in November, the team came down and I got hired on Friday night. On Monday, our athletic director was laughing at me saying, "We just signed your school to come play." They came down to play us, and then they played a couple other schools in the region. And they in the interim, they did a Fellowship of Christian Athletes event for several local high schools. And the high schools were reaching out to me, not knowing I was the new president here, to say how great it was to have a team come in from outside the area and go to Choctaw High School and to Walton Beach High School and do some activities with the high school students. So, you know, that team was impressive in that regard. Not so impressive on the court. The school beat them 101 to 49. I'm sorry. They had motivation. They had motivation. But man, to have that happen, we have never had a team come in as a visiting team before and engage in that kind of behavior. So, okay.
All right, social media, for those of you who don't know, we are all over social media. Yours truly does the downtown campus tweets, so if you're a fan of Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, this is where you can find us. Upcoming events, the Spring Break PD Day will be on St. Patrick's Day. As an Irishman, I pulled a few strings to make sure that it will be Thursday, March 17th. More details will come, and then Staff Service Awards will be Friday, April the 8th. And then this is just a list of all our staff council members. If you're not sure who everyone is or is your representative on campus, these are all of us. So, that's all I have today. I appreciate Dr. Handy speaking to all of us, as well as all our other guests that came up here as well. Can I answer any questions? Or try to answer questions.
On Monday, I will send copies of the full campus report. So Laura, all your stuff's going to be included.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for coming. It was a great turnout, and pardon me. Oh, and obviously Diane Cal French is here today. So I appreciate everyone being here today.